Antigua and Barbuda is a twin island country in the Americas, lying between the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. It consists of two major inhabited islands, Antigua and Barbuda, and a number of smaller islands. The permanent population numbers about 81,800 and the capital and largest port and city is St. John's, on Antigua. Separated by a few nautical miles, Antigua and Barbuda are in the middle of the Leeward Islands, part of the Lesser Antilles, roughly at 17 degrees north of the equator. The country is nicknamed Land of 365 Beaches, due to the many beaches surrounding the islands. Its governance, language, and culture have all been strongly influenced by the British Empire, of which the country was formerly a part. Etymology: Antigua is Spanish for ancient, and Barbuda is Spanish for bearded. The island of Antigua, originally called Wodadli by Arawakes, is today called Wodadli by locals. Caribs possibly called it Waramoni. Christopher Columbus, while sailing by in 1493, may have named it Santa Maria la Antigua, after an icon in the Spanish Seville Cathedral. History: Antigua was first settled by archaic age hunter-gatherer Amerindians called the Siboney or Siboney. Carbon dating has established the earliest settlements started around 3100 BC. They were succeeded by the Ceramic Age pre-Columbian Arawake-speaking Saladoid people who migrated from the lower Orinoco River. The Arawakes introduced agriculture, raising, among other crops, the famous Antigua black pineapple, corn, sweet potatoes, chilies, guava, tobacco, and cotton. The indigenous West Indians made excellent seagoing vessels which they used to sail across the Atlantic and the Caribbean. As a result, Caribs and Arawakes were able to colonize much of South America and the Caribbean islands. Their descendants still live there, notably in Brazil, Venezuela, and Colombia. Most Arawakes left Antigua around 1100 AD. Those who remained were later raided by the Caribs. According to the Catholic Encyclopedia, the Caribs' superior weapons and seafaring prowess allowed them to defeat most of the West Indian Arawake nations, enslaving some and possibly cannibalizing others. The Catholic Encyclopedia makes it clear that the European invaders had difficulty differentiating between the various groups of the native peoples they encountered. As a result, the number and types of ethnic, tribal groups in existence at that time may have been much more varied and numerous than just the two mentioned in this article. European and African diseases, malnutrition, and slavery eventually killed most of the Caribbean's native population, although no researcher has conclusively proven any of these causes as the real reason for these deaths. Smallpox was probably the greatest killer. Some historians believe that the psychological stress of slavery may also have played a part in the massive number of deaths amongst enslaved natives. Others believe the reportedly abundant but starchy, low-protein diet may have contributed to their severe malnutrition as they were used to a diet fortified with protein from the sea. The Spaniards did not colonize Antigua because it lacked fresh water but not aggressive Caribs. The English settled on Antigua in 1632, so Christopher Codrington settled on Barbuda in 1684. Slavery, established to run sugar plantations around 1684, was abolished in 1834. The British ruled from 1632 to 1981, with a brief French interlude in 1666. The islands became an independent state within the Commonwealth of Nations on 1 November 1981, with Elizabeth II as the first Queen of Antigua and Barbuda. The Right Honourable Vere Cornwall Birdseye became the first Prime Minister. Geography: Antigua and Barbuda both are generally low-lying islands whose terrain has been influenced more by limestone formations than volcanic activity. The highest point on Antigua is Mount Abarmouth, the remnant of a volcanic crater rising 402 meters. The shorelines of both islands are greatly indented with beaches, lagoons, and natural harbors. The islands are rimmed by reefs and shoals. There are few streams, as rainfall is slight. Both islands lack adequate amounts of fresh groundwater. Ireland's climate rainfall averages 990 mm per year, with the amount varying widely from season to season. In general, the wettest period is between September and November. The islands generally experience low humidity and recurrent droughts. Hurricanes strike on an average of once a year. Temperatures average 27 degrees Celsius, with a range from 23 degrees Celsius in the winter to 30 degrees Celsius in the summer and autumn. The coolest period is between December and February. Its low humidity makes it one of the most temperate climates in the world. Ecology: the sandy soil on much of the islands has only scrub vegetation. Some parts of Antigua are more fertile, most notably the Central Plain, due to the volcanic ash in the soil. These areas support some tropical vegetation and agricultural uses. The planting of acacia, mahogany, and red and white cedar on Antigua has led to as much as 11% of the land becoming forested, helping to conserve the soil and water. Governance: political system: the politics of Antigua and Barbuda take place within a framework of a unitary, parliamentary, representative democratic monarchy, in which the head of state is the monarch who appoints the governor-general as vice-regal representative. Elizabeth II is the present Queen of Antigua and Barbuda, having served in that position since the island's independence from the United Kingdom in 1981. The Queen is currently represented by Governor-General Sir Rodney Williams. A Council of Ministers is appointed by the Governor-General on the advice of the Prime Minister, currently Gaston Brown. The Prime Minister is the head of government. Executive power is exercised by the government, while legislative power is vested in both the government and the two chambers of Parliament. The bicameral parliament consists of the Senate and the House of Representatives to serve 5-year terms. The current leader of Her Majesty's loyal opposition is the United Progressive Party Member of Parliament, the Honourable Baldwin Spencer. Political culture: Gaston Brown defeated his predecessor Lester Bryant Byrd at the party's biennial convention in November 2012 held to elect a political leader and other party officers. The party then altered its name from the Antigua Labour Party, ALP, to the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, ABLP. This was done to officially include the party's presence on the sister Isle of Barbuda in its organization. The only political party on the mainland to have a physical branch in Barbuda. The last elections held were on the 12th of June 2014, during which the Antigua Labour Party won 14 seats, and the United Progressive Party 3 seats. Since 1949, the party system had been dominated by the populist Antigua Labour Party. However, the Antigua and Barbuda legislative election of 2004 saw the defeat of the longest-serving elected government in the Caribbean. Prime Minister Lester Bryant Byrd, who had succeeded his father via Cornwall Byrd Sr., and Deputy Robin Yearwood had been in office since 1976. The elder Byrd was Prime Minister from 1981 to 1994 and Chief Minister of Antigua from 1960 to 1981, except for the 1971 to 1976 period when the Progressive Labour movement defeated his party. Via Cornwall Byrd, the nation's first Prime Minister, is credited with having brought Antigua and Barbuda and the Caribbean into a new era of independence. Judiciary: the judicial branch is the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. In addition, Antigua is a member of the Caribbean Court of Justice. The Supreme Court of Appeal was the British Judicial Committee of the Privy Council up until 2001, when a few nations of the Caribbean community voted to abolish the right of appeal to the Privy Council in favour of a Caribbean Court of Justice. However, Antigua and Barbuda still maintains the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council as its Supreme Court of Appeal. Foreign relations: Antigua and Barbuda is a member of the United Nations, the Bolivarian Alliance for the Americas, the Commonwealth of Nations, the Caribbean Community, the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, the Organization of American States, the World Trade Organization and the Eastern Caribbean's regional security system. Antigua and Barbuda is also a member of the International Criminal Court. In 2013, Antigua and Barbuda called for reparations for slavery at the United Nations. "We have recently seen a number of leaders apologizing," said the Prime Minister Baldwin Spencer. "They should now match their words with concrete and material benefits." Military. The Royal Antigua and Barbuda Defence Force has around 260 members dispersed between the Line Infantry Regiment, Service and Support Unit and Coast Guard. There is also the Antigua and Barbuda Cadet Corps made up of 200 teenagers between the ages of 12 to 18. Administrative divisions. Antigua and Barbuda is divided into 6 parishes and 2 dependencies. Note: though Barbuda and Redonda are called dependencies, they are integral parts of the state, making them essentially administrative divisions. Dependency is simply a title. Economy. Tourism dominates the economy, accounting for more than half of the gross domestic product. Antigua is famous for its many luxury resorts. Weak tourist activity since early 2000 has slowed the economy, however, and squeezed the government into a tight fiscal corner. Investment banking and financial services also make up an important part of the economy. Major world banks with offices in Antigua include the Royal Bank of Canada and Scotiabank. Financial services corporations with offices in Antigua include PricewaterhouseCoopers. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has accused the Antigua-based Stanford International Bank, owned by Texas billionaire Alan Stanford, of orchestrating a huge fraud which may have bilked investors of some $8 billion. The Twin Island nation's agricultural production is focused on its domestic market and constrained by a limited water supply and a labor shortage, stemming from the lure of higher wages in tourism and construction work. Manufacturing is made up of enclave-type assembly for export, the major products being bedding, handicrafts and electronic components. Prospects for economic growth in the medium term will continue to depend on income growth in the industrialized world, especially in the United States, from which about 1/3 of all tourists come. Following the opening of the American University of Antigua College of Medicine by investor and attorney Neil Simon in 2003, a new source of revenue was established. The university employs many local Antiguans and the approximate 1,000 students consume a large amount of the goods and services. Demographics. Ethnic groups. Antigua has a population of 85,632, mostly made up of people of West African, British, and Madeiran descent. The ethnic distribution consists of 91% black, 4.4% mixed race, 1.7% white, and 2.9% other. Most whites are of Irish or British descent. Christian Levantine Arabs, and a small number of Asians and Sephardic Jews make up the remainder of the population. An increasingly large percentage of the population lives abroad, most notably in the United Kingdom, United States and Canada. A minority of Antiguan residents are immigrants from other countries, particularly from Dominica, Guyana and Jamaica, and, increasing, from the Dominican Republic, St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Nigeria. An estimated 4,500 American citizens also make their home in Antigua and Barbuda, making their numbers one of the largest American populations in the English-speaking Eastern Caribbean. Languages. English is the official language. Many of the locals speak Antiguan Creole. The Barbudan accent is slightly different from the Antiguan. In the years before Antigua and Barbuda's independence, Standard English was widely spoken in preference to Antiguan Creole, but afterwards Antiguans began treating Antiguan Creole as a respectable aspect of their culture. Generally, the upper and middle classes shun Antiguan Creole. The educational system dissuades the use of Antiguan Creole and instruction is done in Standard English. Many of the words used in the Antiguan dialect are derived from British as well as African languages. This can be easily seen in phrases such as, Minago, meaning, I am not going. Another example is, ain't it, meaning, ain't it, which is itself dialectal and means, isn't it. Common island proverbs can often be traced to Africa. Spanish is spoken by around 10,000 inhabitants. Largest cities. Religion. 74% of Antiguans are Christians, with the Anglican denomination being the largest. Other Christian denominations present are Baptists, Presbyterians and Catholics. Non-Christian religions practiced in the islands include the Rastafari movement, Islam, Judaism and the Baha'i faith. Education. Antigua and Barbuda has a greater than 90% literacy rate. In 1998, Antigua and Barbuda adopted a national mandate to become the preeminent provider of medical services in the Caribbean. As part of this mission, Antigua and Barbuda built the most technologically advanced hospital in the Caribbean, the Mount St. John Medical Center. The island of Antigua currently has two foreign-owned for-profit offshore medical schools, the American University of Antigua, founded in 2004, and the University of Health Sciences Antigua, founded in 1982. The island's sole medical schools cater mostly to foreign students but contribute tremendously to the local economy and healthcare and help give the small country international attention. There is also a government-owned state college in Antigua as well as the Antigua and Barbuda Institute of Information Technology and the Antigua and Barbuda Hospitality Training Institute. The University of the West Indies has a branch in Antigua for locals to continue university studies. Antigua has two international primary, secondary schools including CCSET International, which offers the Ontario Secondary School Diploma, and Island Academy, which offers the International Baccalaureate. There are also many other private schools, but these institutions tend to follow the same local curriculum as government schools. Both international schools are relatively inexperienced with offering international degrees. CCSET International has existed for several years but only began offering an international degree in 2007, while CCSET's graduating classes have consistently been awarded the OSSD. This is somewhat controversial because CCSET students receive their diplomas from one of CCSET's partner schools based in Ontario. Culture. The culture is predominantly a mixture of West African and British cultural influences. Cricket is the national sport and Antigua has produced several famous cricket players including Sir Vivian Richards, Anderson, Andy Roberts, and Richie Richardson. Other popular sports include football, boat racing and surfing. American popular culture and fashion also have a heavy influence. Most of the country's media is made up of major United States networks. Many Antiguans prefer to make shopping trips to San Juan, Puerto Rico. Family and religion play an important roles in the lives of Antiguans. Most attend religious services on Sunday, although there is a growing number of Seventh-day Adventists who observe the Sabbath on Saturday. The National Carnival held each August commemorates the abolition of slavery in the British West Indies, although on some islands, Carnival may celebrate the coming of Lent. Its festive pageants, shows, contests and other activities are a major tourist attraction. Calypso and soca music, both originating primarily out of Trinidad, are important in Antigua and Barbuda. Cuisine. Corn and sweet potatoes play an important role in Antiguan cuisine. For example, a popular Antiguan dish, dukuna/dudokun, is a sweet, steamed dumpling made from grated sweet potatoes, flour and spices. One of the Antiguan staple foods, fungi, fu-n-di, is a cooked paste made of cornmeal and water. Media. The single daily newspaper is the Daily Observer. Besides most American television networks, the local channel ABS-TV 10 is available. There are also several local and regional radio stations, such as V2CM 620ZDKM 1100, Vibes FM 92.9, and ZDKFM 97.1. sports. Like in many other Commonwealth countries, cricket is the most popular sport. The Antigua and Barbuda national cricket team represented the country at the 1998 Commonwealth Games. But Antiguan cricketers otherwise play for the Leeward Islands cricket team in domestic matches and the West Indies cricket team internationally. The 2007 Cricket World Cup was hosted in the West Indies from the 11th of March to the 28th of April 2007. Antigua hosted 8 matches at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium, which was completed on the 11th of February 2007 and can hold up to 20,000 people. Antigua is a host of Stanford 2020 cricket. A version started by Alan Stanford in 2006 as a regional cricket game with almost all Caribbean islands taking part. Antiguan Viv Richards scored the fastest Test century and Brian Lara twice scored the World Test record at the Antigua Recreation Ground. Association football, or soccer, is also a very popular sport. Antigua has a national football team which entered World Cup qualification for the 1974 tournament and for 1986 and onwards. A professional team was formed in 2011, Antigua Barracuda FC, which plays in the USL Pro, a lower professional league in the USA. The nation's team had a major achievement in 2012, getting out of its preliminary group for the 2014 World Cup, notably due to a victory over powerful Haiti. In its first game in the next CONCACAF Group play on 8 June 2012 in Tampa, Florida, Antigua and Barbuda, comprising 17 Barracuda players and 7 from the lower English professional leagues, scored a goal against the United States. Authored by Peter Byers. However, the team lost 3-1 to the U.S. Athletics are popular. Talented athletes are trained from a young age, and Antigua and Barbuda has produced a few fairly adept athletes. Janelle Williams, a young athlete with much promise, comes from Gray's Farm, Antigua. Sonia Williams and Heather Samuel represented Antigua and Barbuda at the Olympic Games. Other prominent rising stars include Brendan Christian, Daniel Bailey and James Grayman.